Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you guys know, New Year's is right around the corner, and a lot of you are probably making these goals and resolutions like what you should do in 2023. And I decided kind of to take a step back and kind of look at, just ask myself, am I happy? And that kind of begs the question, what does it mean to be happy? And what things in my life are contributing to my happiness? And I don't think we ask ourselves that question enough. Obviously, there's these feelings such as joy, excitement, enthusiasm, and they kind of encompass what happiness is. But I think it would be a lot easier to kind of break down happiness into two distinct kinds, and one being synthetic happiness and another being natural happiness. And also, we're going to get into some ways that these two types of happiness can be improved in your life. All right, so when I first started diving into some research about what happiness is, it was kind of hard finding like something to break it down in simpler terms. And then I finally came across these two different kinds. And it was proposed in a book actually by a Harvard professor. His name is Daniel Gilbert, and it's titled Stumbling on Happiness. And he kind of breaks it down into two different areas and two different kinds of happiness. And I'll let his words speak for themselves on what they mean. Natural happiness is what we get when we get what we wanted. And synthetic happiness is what we make when we don't get what we wanted. Now, let's first start with natural happiness. And I think it's a little bit easier to understand the synthetic happiness. And it's kind of defined as this idea that whenever you accomplish something in life, in reality, the feeling you get from accomplishing that goal or that thing or that experience or doing a certain task, that feeling you get of the objective experience, that's what natural happiness is. So say you get first place in a competition, or you're eating food when you're hungry. Like, those are things that are subjective in reality, and you're gaining arousal and you're gaining dopamine from these things, and that makes you happy. So the more goals you reach in your life and the more things you do that you enjoy doing, I guess, in a sense, the happier your natural happiness is. And I guess that begs the question, what do we do to improve our natural happiness in our life? I think the most obvious answer would be to set goals and take action on those goals. And sometimes, I'm even guilty of it, is you just blindly set a goal. And if you just blindly set a goal, it can cause you to either be extremely disappointed, or it can cause you to get overconfident, and you can get bored, and you won't see any growth in your life. So I think it's kind of important that you find the right balance between that. Say you're trying to run a mile. Me, myself, I'm not the best long distance runner. I could probably run about a 10-minute mile. So if I were to set a goal that I would go out right now and try to run a 5-minute mile, that would be very unattainable. So what I would do is, say I can comfortably do a 10-minute mile. What I would do is try to set a goal that is really going to push me just a little bit past my limits. That's going to make it hard on me, but it's going to be something that I can achieve. So say instead of a 10-minute going for 10 minutes or going for 5 minutes, I would find somewhere in the middle, say 7.5 minutes or 8 minutes, and I would push myself to get to that goal. And then once you reach that 8-minute mark, then you could set an even higher goal, and it makes it a lot more attainable. And then you'll reach goals more often in your life. So if we have an area of our lives that we want to improve on, I think it's important to set a goal. But when you do set that goal, you need to start with a base of what you're comfortable with. And then instead of making that your goal, you want to just go slightly above it. Just go push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone to know something that you can attain if you put some work in. And once you reach that goal, it'd be a lot better than something that's either way too high up or something that's at your base level. So that's two big things right there is if you do this technique, you'll stay motivated and you'll accomplish things. And two, your sense of happiness will just be a lot better because you'll see a lot of improvement. So that's just awesome. A quote that I really wanted to reference, in Jordan B. Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, he writes, "Every game comes with its chance of success or failure. Differentials in quality are omnipresent. Furthermore, if there was no better and worse, nothing would be worth doing. There would be no value and therefore no meaning. Why make an effort if it doesn't improve anything?" And that brings us to synthetic happiness. And some of you guys might be thinking, okay, do you mean like just take a bunch of drugs and your synthetic happiness will increase? No, that's not what I'm talking about here. I think Daniel, he kind of came with this idea of having an internal control and sense of your emotions and feelings. And if you can really be aware of your thoughts and feelings and create control over them, then your synthetic happiness will increase. And so there's a number of ways we can increase our synthetic happiness, and one of them being just writing something in your journal, like what you're grateful for every day. Another could be just having a good supportive friend group, or it could be something as simple as sleeping and exercising regularly. But I think a more important and something I want to highlight more is this idea of meditation. So there was this podcast I was listening to called the Richer, Wiser, Happier podcast. Great podcast, recommend it. And he had this guest on who's an experienced Buddhist and meditator, and he's a teacher of meditation. And his name is Sokni Rinpoche. I didn't want to butcher that name, so I wrote it down. And he asked the question, what would you guide people to do who are thinking, I want to be calmer, less neurotic, happier, and more focused? And here's his answer.
Start with 10 minutes, and then here and there throughout of the day, aware of it, and then sit down, sit a little bit, or aware of your thought and feeling. Just 1 minute here, 2 minutes there. And sometimes, if you have an opportunity, there's so many times that you don't do anything, and just reflect and be kind to yourself. Number one, is kind to your thought and feelings. I'm with you. I'm relaxed. It's okay. Keep doing that. The result, the beautiful thing.
Now, I'm nowhere near as an experienced or knowledgeable meditator as him, but I think we can all relate to this idea of having control of our thoughts and emotions. And I feel like we go through life and we experience things, and obviously there's good emotions, and like when something good happens to you, you like a goal, for example, of natural happiness. We want to feed off those positive emotions, but then you got to ask yourself, okay, how do you react to negative emotions? Like, you can't react the same way. You can't let it feed into your thoughts, because then it'll end up destroying your well-being, and you'll take actions that are negative just based off these emotions. But the whole idea of meditation, and I could honestly make a whole video just on meditation itself, and I likely will. So just to kind of keep it brief, is like, it's more than just staying focused. It's more of like, when you're meditating, it's about accepting your thoughts. So if you have this feeling of negativity, you can't address that feeling of negativity until you're aware of it. So next time you're stressed out, just take a moment and just be like, okay, where is this stress coming from? Ask yourself these questions, like, where am I stressed? Who is causing the stress? Should I be acting this way? Am I reacting in a way that is harmful to other people, or is harmful to my own character? And soon you'll build up this practice and this muscle memory of, okay, anytime you feel this negative emotion come through your body, and there's something around you that's saying, okay, you don't feel good, you're going to recognize that a lot faster, and you're going to be like, okay, I accept this. And I think that's just the start of meditation. It's kind of hard for me to dive really deep into it right now. But the first step to accepting negative emotions is becoming aware of them. And once you become aware of these emotions, then you can lead you down a rabbit hole, and you can eventually control these negative emotions, and control your actions of these negative emotions and turn them into positive emotions. It's not about reacting to things. It's about, okay, yes, my life, whatever path my life takes me on, I need to be happy. And yes, I might fail sometimes, and I want to succeed in certain areas of my life. And that goes into a whole nother area or topic of discipline. And if you want to achieve goals in your life, then you have to be disciplined. That's a conversation for another time. But that's this whole idea of meditation, is like, you're living your life, and there's thoughts, and there's emotions, and then there's reality. And all three of those things are being influenced by one another. So as I mentioned, the title of the Harvard professor's book, Stumbling on Happiness, I don't think happiness is something that we just have to stumble upon in our life. It doesn't have to be something that just shows up. I think it's something that we can control. And yes, we do need to utilize natural happiness, because natural happiness, it allows us to grow and progress in life and stay disciplined. As we accomplish more and more goals in our life, we're going to keep shooting for more and more goals, which is going to make us better and better people. But at the same time, just because you experience a bad thing in your life, quote unquote bad thing in your life, and your emotions are being negative and reactive to it, it doesn't mean you can't change your thoughts and reframe that situation into a positive outcome. So what I mean by that is, it's kind of looking, a very simple way to put it is just look at the good things in a situation. I mean, yes, you might be paying $4 for gas, but where's that gas taking you? Like, you're driving to your parents' house for Christmas. You're going out with family. You're going out with friends. You're experiencing the world. And yeah, you could take the time and be like, oh, why are gas prices so high? I'm spending so much money on gas. And that might put you in a bad mood, and you might complain. You might have a negative day because of it. Or you could just be like, wow, I have all these good things that I'm gaining from this gas, and don't really focus on the price of the gas. Kind of focus on what you're getting out of the gas. Focus on the good. And that's kind of an interesting example, but I feel like it could be applied. The same concept could be applied to anything. I think it's important to really highlight again that everyone's happiness is different. And everyone's interpretation of happiness is different, but that doesn't mean we can't look at other people's sources of happiness or other techniques that people use to be happy and apply them to our own life in our own way. So if you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could share it with someone, because if you found benefit or you learned something new, maybe they'll learn something new. And it's kind of my first stab at mindfulness, so let me know what you guys think about it. I don't really know if this is the structure that I want to keep it, or if I want to do more active stuff, talking to people. I'm not really sure where this will take me, but let me know what you think. And lastly, I want to end this video by a quote from the well-known Charles Darwin. The highest possible stage in moral culture is when we recognize that we ought to control our thoughts.